A century ago, Buffalo's Black community was laying foundations.
89% of the people who built this church were freedom seekers.
Building churches, neighborhoods, businesses, and culture despite barriers to opportunity.
The real harm done to blacks was not the red line, but what I like to call the white line.
Through lines on maps, through generations of resilience, Black history in Western New York was forged.
Being the first means that there will never be a last.
From historic sanctuaries to kitchens, studios, and stages.
When you see someone of your own race doing that, it gives you that inspiration too.
The stories endure, shaping identity, opportunity, and legacy.
It was just an honor for me to be considered for this Grammy.
A legacy that lives on through civic first, mentorship, education, art, bridging past and future.
My theme revolves around the resilience of Black history and the transformation that my culture tends to go through.
As the nation reflects on a century of commemoration, our focus turns home to Buffalo and to the people carrying Black history forward.
I'm a Black African-American woman doing what I can for my community, and this is where it starts.
This is Buffalo's Black history, a century remembered. Thank you for joining us for this Two on Your Side special. I'm Claudine Ewing. This Black History Month, as the nation reflects on a century of commemoration, we celebrate Buffalo, its people, its progress, and its future. Buffalo's Black history stretches back long before the 20th century. Since the 1830s, Black Buffalonians helped build the city. In 1831, the Bethel AME Church became Buffalo's first Black church, making it the oldest Black congregation in the city. Just 5 years later, the Michigan Street Baptist Church was formed by a group of African American men known as the Second Baptist Society of Buffalo. Reverend J. Edward Nash led the congregation from 1892 to 1953. By 1843, Buffalo hosted the National Convention of Colored Citizens, bringing Black leaders together to strategize anti-slavery action. And in 1845, Michigan Street Baptist Church welcomed freedom seekers as a final stop on the Underground Railroad. At the start of the 20th century, the Black population in Buffalo was small but growing. Just 2,000 African Americans lived in the city. By 1920, that number had more than doubled, with families largely settling on the East Side. After World War II, migration from the South reshaped the East Side neighborhoods, increasing the Black population more than 400% by 1970. Today, nearly 37% of Buffalo residents are Black. But disparities remain. Median household income for Black families in 2023 was just under $37,000 compared to more than $61,000 for white households. Thinking about Black history is important more now than ever, that it's taught, that it's preserved. So how is it being passed down today? Alyssa Clausell takes us inside the classroom.
From the Freedom Wall outside,
no longer are they going to allow European powers
to the discussions in the classroom
to determine their own fate. It's a real kind of empowering thing.
Black history is part of the educational fabric at Buffalo's Academy for Visual and Performing Arts.
A is correct.
And in Mark Bergioli's AP African American History class, it's taught year-round.
It studies the history of African Americans, it studies African culture, it studies all sorts of things, music, literature. It really is all-encompassing, as well as the history behind it.
That is correct.
Zaria Brunson is one of the students taking the course this year.
This class is so important to me, and it always has been since I first heard about it. I've been excited since they first announced it at all. I love this class.
For her, it's personal.
I've always been interested in learning more about my people, because I've never really learned it in history in general.
And she's not alone.
I want to learn more about myself, my family, my ancestors. It's really important to me.
Maya Hunley is a senior, but she says she's never learned this much about her history.
I think it is really very important to know about history, because we don't want to repeat history at all.
The course was first brought into classrooms across the country in 2022. Here in Buffalo, the course continues, but in other states, it's faced pushback.
This course is illegal to teach in Florida.
AP African American History is restricted or blocked in several states. In places like Arkansas and South Carolina, state officials have declined to approve or fund the course as an AP class. In Florida, education officials rejected the AP African American Studies pilot course, saying it violated state law and was not historically accurate.
It's just history. It's not slanted really in any way. In fact, I think the AP has gone out of their way to be very cautious not to slant it.
The nonprofit that makes AP courses, the College Board, says it's revised the framework to ensure the course meets college-level standards. Here in New York State, educators say there are already strict guidelines in place.
My job is to make sure that historical accurate information is provided to our teachers, and our teachers provide and transfer that information to students in very objective manner.
W. Charles Brandy is the director of social studies for the Buffalo Public School System.
For those students who aren't as advanced, we do have benchmark courses for them, which meets the state mandate what we have to do and what students have to know and do in regards to American history, African American history.
But no matter how or where students learn it here, they'll tell you.
The more I learn, the more I get a big view on how things were before and how it's changed into the now.
Some of Buffalo's youngest students are diving into Black history, and they're eager to share what they've learned with anyone willing to listen. Our Kelly Duzzik was there to hear their stories firsthand.
For us to be able to walk freely today, be able to do the things that we do today. But that's what it means to me.
It's about recognizing the big ways that Black people helped shape the world that we live in today.
Black History Month means to me is like I get to appreciate what these people did for me and my family and my friends.
The significance of Black History Month is not lost on this group of student leaders.
What Black History means to me is that we get to celebrate, I get to celebrate my people, I get to celebrate my people who got freedom for us.
They are 5th through 8th graders at the Nativity Miguel Middle School of Buffalo.
It means to be able to look back and see how much that my ancestors had to go through, and I'm so grateful because now I can get a chance to go to a private school, which was not possible back then, and I can get to go to good colleges, good high schools.
Sometimes we talk about how they gave us the freedom, and it's just a pleasure to have the freedom, I guess.
They're having conversations about Black History Month at home with their families.
My dad, he's just walking around. He'd just tell me a random Black History quote and stuff. He'd start talking about Black history and his perspective on it, and it's pretty fun.
Carson's mom is a teacher.
She would give me random Black history people. So for example, Martin Luther King, she'd tell me a quote by him, tell me to identify the quote, what the quote means. My dad, he would basically he would talk about how important Black History Month is to him, and he would tell me some good people that you may not have heard, but they did stuff for us.
They're also learning about Black history at school.
One thing I like that we do at school, we don't really talk about the most popular people, like Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. They still did good, but we could talk about people like Madam C.J. Walker and other people.
Even if we're not on that topic, my science teacher, he doesn't even teach history, and he's still teaching me about it. And last year we had a teacher named Mr. Jones. He teaches about it.
And want people to take these lessons seriously and share that knowledge with others.
They appreciate it, but they don't appreciate it enough as they should.
They learn it to learn. They don't really listen to what the teachers say.
Anytime it comes up, we usually just think about how Black people have made this world like so much better for us just in general, and like what this world would be like if people haven't, what they hadn't done what they did.
That generated this next.
Coming up, race, class, and a decades-old map. Buffalo's redlining history shaped who lived where and who got left behind.
They would look at certain areas and they say, based on our formula, ain't nothing gonna happen there.
But where investment was denied, there was resilience.
89% of the people who built this church were freedom seekers, and they played an active role in the abolitionist movement.
How their activism helped shape Buffalo's past and present when Buffalo's Black History, a century remembered, returns. Welcome back. Redlining, a federal housing policy from decades ago, still shapes Buffalo today, impacting neighborhoods once written off by banks. Nate Benson shows us just how far we still have to go to right the wrongs of the past.
At the height of the Great Depression, the Homeowners Land Corporation, which was a New Deal-era government entity, created so-called residential security maps of more than 200 cities across the country, including Buffalo. Those maps outlined investment risks to banks based on how valuable properties could end up being. The system would ultimately be known as redlining.
Redlining was a system that banks and financial institutions created to determine those areas and parts of the city that they thought making a mortgage investment would be unwise.
Neighborhoods with industrial uses, low incomes, or Black and immigrant residents were often graded as higher risk.
So exclusion, race, and class was built into the model. It became the algorithm guiding all of the decision-making processes.
In Buffalo, those redline areas included neighborhoods near the downtown industrial corridor, along the waterfront, parts of the Lower West Side, and large sections of the East Side.
And so they would look at certain areas and they say, based on our formula, ain't nothing gonna happen there.
Those areas were considered less desirable for long-term mortgage investment under the federal grading system. At the same time, federal housing policy encouraged large-scale home construction in the suburbs of American cities after World War II. Casual historians often call it the post-World War II white flight of city centers.
It wasn't flight. It was white rush to the home ownership zone. No different than the Great Gold Rush.
Dr. Taylor argues that access to those suburban mortgages was not evenly distributed.
So the real harm done to blacks was not the red line, but what I like to call the white line that kept them concentrated in these neighborhoods and communities that the banks did not like.
Over time, Buffalo developed a pattern seen in many American cities: higher value housing growth concentrated in the suburbs, with disinvestment in many urban neighborhoods. In 1968, Congress passed the Fair Housing Act, making discrimination in housing based on race illegal. But redlining,
it changed forms, but the practice never stopped. And so they went from exclusion, the red line, to predatory inclusion.
In later decades, high-interest subprime mortgage loans were disproportionately issued in many of the same neighborhoods that had previously been denied traditional financing. The impact of that led to investments in affluent parts of the city or suburbs, with other neighborhoods being divested.
You drive down Genesee Street in East Side along the Upper Broadway, Fillmore area. You notice two things. There are no bus shelters, and there are no benches.
Dr. Taylor argues long-term differences in investment continue to shape infrastructure, property values, and neighborhood conditions.
In a country as wealthy as the United States, every human being has the right to live in a community that is healthy and thriving and joyful and will allow them to become the very best that they can be.
Redlining touched the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor, but it didn't stop progress. History was made there, including at the Michigan Street Baptist Church. Kevin O'Neill takes us inside.
It was built in the 1840s by Buffalonians of color, and today, the Michigan Street Baptist Church stands not just as a religious site, but as a living testament to Black Buffalo history, the struggle for freedom and equality, and the community's resilience over nearly 2 centuries. Lily Wiley Upshaw is the chair of the Niagara Freedom Coalition. Her group is aware of the importance of their work and the importance of preserving this site for future generations.
It certainly has been a labor of love for everyone who has served on the Buffalo Niagara Freedom Station Coalition. I say that I'm part of the story of the church because the organization existed before I came, and there have been so many people in the community that have been a part of the history of the Michigan Street Baptist Church. Bishop Henderson, his family, just so many people, Reverend Nash, the Nash family, and our organization at this point in the history of the church have been here to help shepherd through the interior restoration that you see all around you.
Speaking of shepherding through, some amazing things happen within these 4 walls.
One of the things that we like to share with folks is that 89% of the people who built this church were freedom seekers, and they played an active role in the abolitionist movement and the Underground Railroad here in the city of Buffalo. We know the seeds to the NAACP occurred here in the city of Buffalo.
The Niagara movement.
The Niagara movement, right? We also know that Frederick Douglass came and spoke in the city of Buffalo about just the whole, again, abolitionist movement. So this church has a legacy and a history that really speaks from the beginning of the city of Buffalo in terms of when the city was incorporated, all the way through all of these national American history moments. And our job as the caretakers and the legacy keepers has been to help in preserving the physical structure.
The physical foundation of the structure needed support, and now the interior harkens back to the way it was. Restored windows, a restored staircase, a new paint job, and even new pews built to resemble those first installed in the 19th century. And the lot next to the church will be transformed in the next phase of the massive project. A new annex attached to the church will allow more accessibility for those who need it. And
the new annex design will give us additional programming space. It'll give us the opportunity to have more exhibits.
And as we move onward in the 21st century, it's important for all of us to remember the Michigan Street Baptist Church is not just a site for Black history or for Buffalo history. American history happened within these 4 walls.
Ahead, lights, camera, culture. From the runway.
This is more than fashion. This is an entire cultural production that we're putting on for the city of Buffalo.
To the stage. These crafts, this art, shaping the future and inspiring the next generation.
I wanted to come back as a teacher, cosmetology teacher, and teach what I didn't get.
When Buffalo's Black history, a century remembered, returns. We're back at Shays Performing Arts Center. Fashion, theater, and the arts come together to celebrate Black culture. Mary Alice Demler shows us how a Buffalo creative community is delivering a new cultural experience through style and innovation.
The group is known as Buffalo Fashion Runway, and they do more than just your typical fashion show.
The Buffalo Fashion Runway is what I like to say a culmination of the things that's the true identity of Buffalo, like resiliency, collaboration, and innovation.
Their marquee event is called Black Carpet 3, building on the success of Black Carpet 1 and 2. Think fashion, performance, and art, highlighting local creative talent.
We're telling the story in 3 different acts, the past, present, and future, about Buffalo and the history and intertwining fashion into that.
This creative workspace on Main Street in downtown Buffalo is where the artists come together to turn their ideas into art. This year's 3rd annual event on February 28th moves to a grand venue, Shays Performing Arts Center, with a much larger scale production.
So this is where all the magic is happening.
I don't want to give too much away, but they're making scaled models of different institutions within the city of Buffalo. And that's not an easy task.
Elaborate set construction on one side, and behind the colorful curtain, a blend of both up-and-coming and experienced local clothing designers are honing and sharing their craft.
I did a lot of brainstorming, sketching, selecting colors, silhouettes, and things like that, and then just basically taking my ideas from 2D to 3D.
Zanaya Vaughn worked on Black Carpet 1 and is now looking forward to taking her designs to the next level.
For this collection, my theme revolves around the resilience of Black history and just the transformation that my culture tends to go through with struggle and how that can create new innovations and just new perspectives, essentially.
I was one of maybe about 10 students, and Buffalo Fashion Runway came in and we were taught the sewing basics.
Jadon Buckley is also part of that next generation of designer. He uses mostly upscaled fabric, accessories, and notions to sometimes make a social statement.
This piece impacted me because of what's going on in the world with ICE.
And that theme of social justice has also inspired Buffalo Fashion Runway's executive director.
2 of the reasons why I started my brand, my love for fashion, and then my newfound love for activism because of injustice that happened to me when I was in college.
The combined passions of art and activism, they hope will inspire how Buffalo reimagines its future.
Like when we come together, seriously come together, and allow ourselves to use diversity as our strength, that would not only support our city, but probably support a national model, right? Of how to really kind of pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
I want them to be able to see what we have right here at home in Buffalo and just have a newfound, I guess, sense of what is possible.
For more than 4 decades, Buffalo City Ballet has been opening doors through dance, training aspiring dancers, showcasing local talent, and celebrating culture on stages across Western New York. Natalie Foss shows us how this company is creating opportunity, representation, and lasting impact.
If you have a feel for dance, go with your heart.
Marvin Askew is the executive director of the Buffalo Inner City Ballet Company and a professional dancer who knew early on he wanted to carry forward the 55-year legacy started by his mentor and the company's founder, Carl Singletary.
Got my training pretty much here in Buffalo and went to New York to further my training. Later on, went on to dance professionally and returned to Buffalo to carry on what he started. And that's pretty much giving underprivileged children the opportunity to study classical ballet.
He says the mission goes far beyond pliés and pirouettes, training students for success on stage and in life.
When I returned, that was one of my priorities, to make sure that we were able to use our training or the skills that we were developing to dance on a higher level.
Through grants and public funding, the ballet provides students in need with low cost or even free tuition, so they never have to turn young dancers away.
And many of the kids that come here are from either single family home or families that are struggling to make ends meet. So they don't have the necessary money set aside to pay for dance lessons. So that's where we come in and provide those services.
He hopes to give his students a safe place to express themselves.
Especially with a lot of young men dancers, because at a young age, a lot of our fathers tell us, nah, ballet's not for you.
He tells us that many of his students succeed once they move on, even if they don't choose a career in dance.
Dancing just gives you that opportunity, that discipline. And I think that's the biggest thing, is having that discipline to move further.
Starlene Funderburg, marketing and communications manager as well as parent at the Buffalo Inner City Ballet, says she was inspired to enroll her girls after attending the company's performance of the Nutcracker.
I just always thought that, this is something I want my girls to be in when they get older, and as soon as I came to their Nutcracker show, I'm like, this is it. This is where I want them to go.
Not only was she struck by the dancing and professionalism, but also the diversity she saw on stage.
And he not only teaches them to dance, but he also mentors them as well. And I believe that's exactly what youth need, especially Black youth, considering everything that's going on in the world.
The students learned to dance, but also life skills that will carry them forward after class is done.
Mr. Marvin teaches them sew your own costumes, sew your own shoes, fix those things up. Your presentation, not only your stage presentation, but your presentation in dealing with the public, period.
She says that the Buffalo Inner City Ballet Company is so much more than just dance lessons.
We understand that this is more than just a dance school. It's a family, and it's instruction that will take them far beyond 18 years old taking instruction here.
For Black men and women, hair is personal and powerful. For stylists and educators, it's a way to heal, teach, and honor culture. From salons to after-school programs, Chelsea Swift shows us how community is being built one head at a time.
Stephen Daniels is a local stylist and non-surgical hair replacement specialist with more than 35 years of experience. In 2025, he opened Epicenter Salon on George Urban Boulevard in Depew, creating a space where hair care is also about healing.
I'll have clients come in that may have a bad day, or they're having a challenging situation in their lives, and just an opportunity to be able to service them and make the hair look beautiful. They walk out feeling like so much better, so much lighter.
Daniel says he believes cosmetology schools could be more inclusive when it comes to learning about different hair textures and how to take care of them.
Sometimes texture hair can feel and look more challenging if you're not used to that tight coil, but at the end of the day, it's fabric.
For Daniels, his work is personal and rooted in family and heritage. He was inspired by his father, Jerry Daniels Sr., who owns a historic barbershop on Jefferson Avenue.
My father owned a barbershop for over 70 years, Carl Jeff Barbershop, and I followed in his footsteps and my brother's footsteps, and so I became a cosmetologist through the Buffalo Public School System.
Another local cosmetologist and educator, Jade Wright, is teaching younger generations about hair care. Last year, she started her own nonprofit, Camp Be You, a free after-school program designed to empower dozens of students across 4 Buffalo public schools.
They've been doing it all. Braids, twists, rubber band styles, elegant, updos, the works.
Helping kids learn techniques to maintain their hairstyles and also teach them to maybe even go into the industry.
It's really fulfilling. When we talk about hair care, they're very into it. Everybody has different textures. Some of them remember their types.
Wright says her program is open to all students who are interested in cosmetology and barbering.
I wanted to come back as a teacher, cosmetology teacher, and teach what I didn't get. I feel like that was needed for us, for the culture. I have 40 mannequins, 40 combs, brushes. I have 40, 50 of everything, but everything is solely funded from me.
Ashley Scott is a counselor at Build Community School.
I think this is a great opportunity for the district, for our students, and I'm looking forward to continuing this partnership.
She's so nice and she's so kind. When I was little, my home don't know how to design, and I just need like a big sister or someone to design my hair. I want to learn about their culture.
For Wright, Daniels, and many others, hair care is more than beauty. It's a way to honor Black culture, pass down knowledge, and build community.
I'm a Black African-American woman doing what I can for my community. And this is where it starts.
Still to come, from gospel roots to the Grammys. This Buffalo-born artist is making waves on the national stage.
The R&B that I sing, I feel like I have to do it. I feel like it's ministry for me.
And while his music moves us, a local business is putting the soul in soul food.
When you come and you try one, you're gonna wanna come back and try them all.
See what Crenshaw's is serving coming up on Buffalo's Black History, a century remembered. Now to the music. Buffalo has produced some of the biggest singers and songwriters over a century, like D-Mod. He's rooted in his community, creating music that heals, inspires, and celebrates love.
I love you, and I want you to love me back.
D-Mod, Buffalo-born. He's a songwriter and singer.
And I'll never let you down, never let you down, because I'll always be around. I'll be your savior.
His song Higher caught the eye of the Grammys. This song was Grammy considered for Best R&B Performance.
We were considered for the nomination, which takes me to another level as an artist.
D-Mod started performing in 2021. That's when his first single, Angel, was released.
That song hit the top 200, cracked the top 200 like immediately once it started being in rotation.
While his musical journey started with gospel, he ventured into other genres.
I worked with Robbie Taycat. I actually played drums for his a band that he produced called Ghost Runner. Roderick Bonner. He does a lot of production with me.
And what drives you to do it?
There was a call in my heart to write music for humans, to fall in love, to fix broken love, reconciliation.
What's it been like to be in your car and then hear yourself?
I don't like to hear me, but I love to hear me.
I'll never let you down, no, because I'll always be around. Yeah.
He's also a pastor of the Remnant House Outreach Church, or the Rock Movement.
The platform that has been given to me, I need to be more responsible to show everybody, whether it's African American, Caucasian, Latino, whatever culture. I don't do denomination.
And as his music is peaking with streams in the millions, D-Mod is Buffalo, giving music to the people. Check him out at a summer festival in the Queen City. What was that like for you?
Everything. I love performing in Buffalo. I love it. It's when you can look out and see your mom and your dad and frenemies and then enemies, but love and see people clapping for you and rocking with you and dancing, and then you get off the stage and then they love you. It's just no better feeling than to perform in Buffalo.
Spoken like a true Buffalonian who has performed at city wineries across the nation and the House of Blues, never giving up on what has become a dream come true.
It was just an honor for me to be considered for this Grammy. And so I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep writing music.
And he'll be back on tour this spring.
Listen, don't try to live without me. I'm your key to a happy life, yeah. Just give me all of you.
From a home kitchen on Buffalo's Lower West Side to a full-service spot on Chandler Street, Crenshaw's Chicken and Waffles has been serving up more than just good eats. Lauren Hall reports how this Black-owned business is celebrating soul food and Black culture along the way.
For Gregory Crenshaw and his wife Dejanay, Crenshaw's Chicken and Waffles isn't just a restaurant. It's a reflection of their family, culture, and legacy.
So we got started right out of our home on Lower West Side of Buffalo. People started to gravitate towards our chicken and waffles, building a legacy and brand for our family.
For Crenshaw, the goal was never just selling plates. It was to create something lasting for the next generation.
My family's always been cooking. I love to cook, trial and error, just trying to perfect the recipes over the course of years, and then having my wife as a taste tester.
As demand grew, they moved their operations from their home into a kitchen at their church.
We moved from our house because it got just too busy, and then we went to our church on Kensington and Deerfield, Emmanuel Temple, and the word just got out. A lot of people were just coming in, pulling in the parking lot, so we had some of the best chicken and waffles in town coming out of a church.
And now they call this space on Chandler Street home, serving up their specialty for takeout and delivery 6 days a week.
We're known for our chicken and waffles. We have 5 different flavors: red velvet, cookies and cream, Cinnabon, blue velvet, and then OG, which is a plain original flavor. All of our waffles come with our cream cheese glaze on top. We have chicken wings, chicken breasts, chicken tenders, and then also haddock fish every day.
But Crenshaw's is about much more than just chicken and waffles. For Gregory, expanding the menu was about giving customers options and building a brand.
Definitely come and try some of our sides. We have some of the best smoked Gouda mac and cheese in the town. We have seafood salad, chicken pasta salad, green beans, sweet potatoes. We're just not chicken and waffles. That's just in the name.
One of Gregory's personal favorites are the wings.
We have 13 specialty sauces, ranging from honey Cajun, hot lemon pepper, hot garlic parm. My favorite is going to be hot parm ranch. Fish is going with that cookies and cream.
And the growth of the business is opening doors for others.
We employ roughly about 10 people from the community. So it's definitely been a blessing for us to help others support their family.
As Crenshaw's continues to evolve, Gregory says the mission remains the same: building a legacy rooted in family, faith, and community.
Just growing and the support of the community, that has been a blessing for us, especially being a family operated and being a small business in Buffalo.
Hi, John Barnett Davis.
Ahead, from town halls to the hardwood, Black history is being made.
Being the first means that there will never be a last.
As 2 local leaders paved the way, another is remembered for shaping lives on and off the basketball court.
I didn't realize how much impact I had with some of these kids until now.
When Buffalo's Black History, a century remembered, returns. Welcome back. In Cheektowaga and Amherst, 2 local leaders are breaking barriers and making history in real time. Scott Levin shows us how their elections aren't just about titles, they're about service, representation, and opening doors for the future.
They're ready for the first Black councilman.
Black history isn't just written in our textbooks. It's happening in real time, right here in local towns across Western New York.
Tiffany Lewis, who's the first Black woman to ever be elected to the town board.
In Cheektowaga, Tiffany Lewis is making history as the first Black woman elected to the town board.
Hi, John Barnett Davis.
And just a few miles away in Amherst, John Davis is also breaking barriers as the first Black man elected to serve on that town's board. Their elections reflect a larger national theme this Black History Month: preserving history by building the future. And for Lewis, whose mother was a pastor, she believes her faith has helped prepare her for a career in service and helping people.
I believe that, your faith is what carries you. I believe that, those give you those principles that you need to be grounded, to also answer questions with reverence, and also have a better understanding of what the needs of the people are.
Lewis says being the first comes with pride, but also perspective. She's keenly aware that her presence alone can shift how people view leadership.
Being the first means that there will never be a last. It means that the doors are open for those to come. It means that it's hope and reality. And also being the first means that, it's an opportunity for people, especially young people, to see someone like them.
And that same belief resonates in Amherst, where John Davis, who's employed full-time as an electrical engineer, says public service is about visibility and accountability.
People didn't vote for me because of my race, but they voted for me because of, they believed in my experience, my leadership, and they trusted, my capabilities. But being black and being able to do it just shows progress.
Davis says history isn't just made in moments. It's built through consistency, service, and listening to the community.
I was raised in a family of service. My mom was a school teacher. My father was a pastor of a church. So giving back and giving to the community has always been a part of my upbringing, and it's so rewarding.
For both leaders, Black History Month is about honoring those who came before them, while recognizing the responsibility to leave something lasting behind.
It's not just about me, it's about the ancestors. The ancestors have a footprint. Their fingerprint is on this type of history. Although in over 186 years, there has never been a minority or a person of a woman or anyone of color to serve on the board, but the fingerprints and the footprints of our history, of our ancestors, is here.
It's a sentiment shared across both towns when progress is measured not just by titles, but by opportunity.
Showing youth that, you can be in these spaces, you can sit at the table, and you can contribute in a way where you're a leader, you're a community leader.
In both communities, the message is clear. Black history isn't just honored in February, it's shaped every day by who shows up, who serves, and who comes next.
Sometimes we lead with what we see. That's just a natural norm, what we see. But if we just close our eyes for a moment and just listen and feel, I believe that history then would change.
From breaking barriers in local government to making history on the court, at Cardinal O'Hara High School, Nick O'Neill is retiring after 12 seasons of building a girls' basketball legacy. Nate Mills shows us how he turned an overlooked program into a powerhouse.
Nick O'Neill has a saying he's lived by his entire coaching career.
Don't let basketball use you. You use basketball to get to where you want to go to.
And it's more than a motto. It was a philosophy that shaped every player who walked through the doors at Cardinal O'Hara High School, and one he hopes to leave a lasting impression as he retires from coaching after over a decade.
Basketball is a tool that can help provide you with an education, provide you with opportunities beyond basketball.
This mindset resonated with the team well beyond the court. He made sure his players had rides, food, and someone watching their grades, things that made him feel less like a coach and more like family. For Leah Parker, now playing her graduate season at St. Bonaventure, the relationship started long before she put on a Lady Hawk uniform.
He was like a father figure to us, I would say I grew up around him because, my sisters played for him, so I was like a little kid knowing him. So, just being able to grow up with him, he's always looking out for me, making sure I have everything I need, and just be able to grow up with that, that had a huge impact with me.
His success on the court was also characterized by his high standards of discipline and accountability, and players learned that day one of practice. And for Leah's sister, Angel, she's never seen O'Neill accept anything less than her best.
He keeps it real. He was a motivating, he always told me the truth. He always pushed me. He never let me settle. So being able to have him in my ear and hey, you can do better than that, or what are you doing, Angel? That kind of thing kind of just helped me get in the mind frame to hold myself to a standard as well from that young age.
O'Neal was a driving force in getting his players recruited all across the country. But back here in Western New York, his impact stretches from Niagara County to the Southern Tier.
There wasn't these opportunities to play in these big schools when I first started it, and one of the dreams that I had was these kids from Western New York area getting into these bigger schools, being one of the girls that all the rest of the girls in the country look at.
At a predominantly white institution like Cardinal O'Hara, O'Neal's presence carried a significance that gave his black athletes hope.
Just being able to, African American, be able to look up to him, it made me feel comfortable, like almost at home. It's extremely important because you're able to see that someone who looks like you can do it as well. I mean, obviously we don't see it a lot, but just for him to be able to step in and be like a good leader, a good role model to look up to, that helps a lot and shows us and other African Americans that we can do it as well.
Though he's stepping away from the game, the support he gave will always be with the girls, from phone calls about recruiting to jobs. He'll continue what he started at Cardinal O'Hara.
Still going to call for kids. I'm still going to try to help get them in school. I'm still going to try to help build them into women and good young ladies.
As we celebrate Buffalo's Black history and a century of commemoration, we honor those who paved the way and those who continue to fight for progress. Their legacy lives on through us. I'm Claudine Ewing. Thank you so much for joining us for this Two on Your Side special.